They're saying millennials and the alpha generation and millennials or Gen Zs, they look for more meaning in work.
Challenge that we are facing today, the teachers that we are getting, the fresh graduates from BA courses, if they are millennials, they don't want to invest that kind of time because they always want to flow with the trend, and they don't want to spend more than 2 or 3 years in a school teaching. They'll go out and do some other job.
Economics. I think the minute we start facing that kind of teacher shortage problems or those kind of adversities, I think the government may think of changing rules and regulations to making different, different qualifications also eligible to be teachers. So what are you going to do when you're not going to have teachers inside a classroom, right? So the future of work of the teacher as a role,
Yes.
and school as an institution may be up for redesign.
There's so much of capital flowing into the schools today. Suddenly, in the last 10 years, you've seen a lot of acquisitions, there's a lot of mergers happening, a lot of foreign entities coming in, venture capital actively playing a role in school education. While you were starting your journey in the school education space, I don't know whether you have come across such kind of a buzz. Now, suddenly things are changing, and especially in the post-COVID, last 4 years, everybody is crazily investing in school education. So, where do you see this trend coming from, and where it is going?
I think investment, money follows a lot of other principles, and it depends on where the world is in terms of the other markets, other capital markets, and the macroeconomic situations in the world, and what is the overall consciousness of the world, right? There's a massive move towards impact investment. There is a massive move towards patient capital. There's a massive move towards conscious capitalism, right? The world is becoming more aware of the SDG goals and things like that. So it's nice to see that money is following these principles. And definitely we need a lot of money to be able to solve for medicine, to be able to solve for poverty, food crisis, food shortage, climate change, education, gender disparity, all these things. These are all things that money should be allocated for. And I think, especially with the advent of patient capital, I think a lot can be done if people do not forget the reason why they instated such programs. Pivoting is okay, but they shouldn't pivot out of the objective.
Yes. That's where I think consolidation in the market
Yeah.
Can be good or bad.
Yeah.
But it's really good that we have an opportunity right now.
I think there's an opportunity, and I think if the heart is in the right place, and if people are very impact driven, if they choose the right people, I definitely think that the future is brighter, and society needs this.
We need people to drive this.
Yeah.
The leaders in education.
Absolutely.
There is a huge gap in a professionally trained leader, because
Yes.
all the leaders that we have today was a teacher, became a vice principal, then a principal, and then they go to the leadership position. So do you think there is a systematic intervention that we require to groom and train the next generation of corporate professional leaders in this space? Because so much of money is coming in, so much of activity is happening, and to speed up things from an aerial view.
Corporate and education are very different. I really feel that. And the difference specifically I feel is like 20 years ago, I used to look at a teacher and I would assume that this teacher wants to be principal.
Yeah.
I would assume, because I like, teacher, then senior teacher, class teacher, and then HOD coordinator, then shift head, shift manager, HM, vice principal, principal. Okay. And I used to think that is what every teacher wanted to do, because that's what every salesperson wants to do. A
Yeah.
salesperson doesn't want to remain a salesperson for the
Exactly.
next 50 years.
Yeah.
A salesperson wants to become a head of business, he wants to grow up the ladder. Corporates have very
Yes.
clear ladders and very clear way of
Targets and
Yeah.
timelines.
exactly growing people and things like that, right? So the corporate work life is a journey on a treadmill, right? You're on that treadmill, but teachers and educators are not that way. I have realized in all humility that a teacher could join at the age of 25 and retire as a teacher of that same class, at the age of 58, and still be incredibly happy, because they may not look at growth in only capital, but they look at growth in so many other ways, right? So we have to accept, understand, and even learn from that mindset. That mindset. I mean, today when I look back, I'm saying at 25, if I knew what I wanted to do, and if I knew that I was going to do this for the rest of my life, imagine how happy and content that could make me feel, and I say that because we may not want to build systems to accelerate the process of growth for people who may not look at growth in that way. Because you take a brilliant teacher and take her out of the classroom, away from children and away from her subjects, and make her a manager of people or a leader of people, which she may not be interested in or happy to do. So a school becomes deprived of a great teacher and probably inherits a leader who's not very interested in that in the first place. So,
But the other side is a guy coming from FMCG and
Yeah.
leading the show.
but he should come with humility. He should come with
How much time he should invest, to get to that perspective?
he should come with humility. He should come with the knowledge that this is a school and people are different.
I'm just worried about the time that he needs to invest to get into that framework of education in a school. And even if he is a quick learner, I think takes a lot of time.
I think the problems of education are not quick fixes. So what to you and me might feel like a long time may not be a long time in the whole scheme of things. That's the first thing. The second thing I feel is people are becoming more conscious.
Okay.
People are looking for more meaningful work. And I think there's some research that's come out about millennials. You and me are millennials, I guess. I mean, are we? I don't know.
I don't look like one.
So they're saying millennials and, the alpha generation and millennials, the Gen Zs, they look for more meaning in work. And so maybe they may be more inclined towards doing work which are more movement driven, making the world better driven, and things like that. Whereas people who were born in the 80s who now maybe have 50 years or 40 years of experience behind them, who may get into senior leadership roles, maybe their orientation may be different. So we may have to go back and think about, what does hiring look like? Can I use the principles of hiring earlier for the problems that the world has today, for the solutions that the world needs to have today?
Again, you're going back to a challenge that we are facing today. The teachers that we are getting, the fresh graduates from B.Ed courses, if they are millennials, they don't want to invest that kind of time because they always want to flow with the trend, and they don't want to spend more than 2 or 3 years in a school teaching. They'll go out and do some other job, or they shift careers. So this is again going to affect the education. Like we're saying, the education is a long-term process. So if we don't have that teacher in the long term in a system, we'll not be able to get the right output. So that's
Economics. I think the minute we start facing that kind of teacher shortage problems or those kind of adversities, I think the government may think of changing rules and regulations to making different, different qualifications also eligible to be teachers, right? And things may change. So that's what I think. So
In an Indian context, I don't think that's very easy.
I think they started accepting engineering as a degree, also as a teaching qualification.
But without beard,
I think there's some talk of that. I think there's some talk of things like that. Well, what are you going to do when you're not going to have teachers inside a classroom, right? So the future of work of the teacher as a role
yes.
and school as an institution may be up for redesign, right?
I think that's where we are right now, and with 140 crore people and huge population that is in their youth or adulthood or adolescence, I think it's time for us. There is a huge work we have to do, and 60% of the students being educated in K-12 is in private schools,
Yeah.
and there is economics.
Yes.
Again, going back to economics, where do you think the Guru Dakshina concept or the donation concept, the fee that the private schools are charging are being regulated, and it is crippling the schools to improving the quality and racing against time? Schools needs to be unshackled. What are your thoughts on that?
I think education is expensive because it really takes.
If you need to get the good stuff, now the input, the engineers or
I mean, yeah, I mean, and parents also understand that because um, when you look at 10th standard or 12th standard or IIT, JEE coaching, things like that,
yeah.
suddenly everyone's okay with 5-digit numbers. I
Even grooming for study abroad.
Grooming for study abroad. People are okay with 5-digit numbers, and when people think of sending their kids abroad to a college,
Or even to Ivy League, the price, for grooming
yes,
them is.
it's people take loans, people sell their property, so people understand. I think parents understand that to provide.
But they wait till 12th.
I think they're being smart with their money. I think they also, I think, look for promise in their own children. I think they are being observant about the potential of their own children over time. While they believe,
They're doing the data analytics.
yeah, they believe in the potential, they're watching the performance, right? And then they probably then have more, they also have more information. They have more data. Like so many other relatives may say, your kid should be, in one of the in Harvard. So do whatever you can, or even the child develops
Yes.
a certain interest and a certain
He'll come with evidence.
certain acumen for that. And when that is there, then everyone comes together to put that child. So I think everybody understands that education is not cheap, right? Because it's the highest form of leadership in some ways, and to have a teacher teaching your child, right? What we need people to be more conscious of, like the school owners and school chains, where are you spending your money? What's your percentage of where you're spending your money, right? If you're spending most of your money in places that are not proven by research to develop the child in the way we're trying to develop the child in terms of the aims and the objectives, then we have a problem, right?
So, what was your biggest challenge, whether it is the teachers, the leadership, or the parents?
I'll tell you, it's very difficult to say what was the biggest challenge, because none of these challenges are big, but all of them, when they come together, it becomes difficult to manage.
That's a nice way of putting it.
You go to a pizza shop, you ask him for one pizza, no problem. You order a 50 pizza, problem. But each pizza is the same. So the thing is, like, everyone just comes together at the same time. If there's a problem with a teacher, the parent is also going to have a problem. The student is also going to have a problem, because it's such an interrelated, complex system that is depending on each other to perform. So I think the way I'd like to put it is, access to human capital is a big problem. And I don't mean by good teacher or bad teacher or not so good teacher or whatever. I don't mean that. I just mean like there are this a school over time requires different. They have different needs. So be it teacher training or be it curriculum development or be it marketing and communications or be it technology or be it building efficiency in their operations. These are all very high skilled interventions, which you need money. You need money to access that. And if you start looking for a great trainer, a similar skilled trainer who would have worked in corporate would cost you 10 times more,
Yeah.
than in school. So it's the paradox of schooling where everybody knows schools are expensive, but schools can't pay.
Yes.
So that's where the problem is. So as a young school leader myself, my job was to become like the Eklavya, stand outside, management college, make friends with the best managers and learn from them so that I can take back knowledge, stand outside a film set and talk to the cinematographer and learn from him on how I can do film so that I can go back and add that into my school. Every time I think that I need to add something in my school, and the only way I can add that is if I have access to the best talent, then that's going to make it unaffordable and hence inaccessible for my children. But the hope that the students in my school have is me. So there's nobody else who's going to do your job. You have to do your job, and you have to find new and unique ways of doing your job because nobody forced you to be a teacher.
Yes.
Nobody forced you to start a school, and there is no rose without a thorn. You just have to buckle up.
People think that it's a routine work, but when sitting on that chair, you have to be so dynamic, and you have to. You're like a pilot.
Yeah, I think if your job as a school leader has become routine, then you're probably not pushing yourself. No,
Yes.
you're not doing something new. You're not taking. You're not plunging. You're not thinking about what the world needs. You're not thinking about what you can do. I think that's a good indicator. If your life becomes boring as a school principal, think again.
Yeah.
Go for more walks.
Like a pilot, you have to have the takeoff velocity. You should have the
Yeah.
flight plan, and you should not deviate from the path. Then you should safely land it, and then you should have a cockpit view of things,
Yeah.
an aerial view as well, and then regularly communicate with your ATC.
Yes.
And so these are
So much activity.
Yeah, you're like a captain.
Yes, and it's nice that the way you put it because I don't think there's anything called a sorted school.
Yes.
I don't think they figured it out because I think schools are living, breathing, dynamic, evolving systems, and from the day you join to the day you retire, it's just going to be that way, and it's got to be that way. You got to.
So I think we have not deep dived enough into the nitty-gritties of being a school leader, a school leader in the sense taking 100% accountability and responsibility and leading a school
Yes.
with capital, with money, with
Yeah.
payments and everything. The kind of activities that you do or the kind of things that you have learned to run a school, I think from AI to filmmaking to
Yeah.
selling to training to teacher training. Can you list 10 of those the new skills that you acquired in the last 20 years?
Yeah. I mean,
Put a ranking list.
it's difficult to put a ranking list right now. It's
Look
just,
back from today. So
it's just huge. I mean,
Just 20.
huge computational power
Just-
is necessary for me to
Just maybe,
rank
yeah.
these skills.
Maybe
I can just tell you a few skills.
that you use every day, maybe.
One is to be able to judge people in an interview. I still haven't picked that up. But that is one thing. Another thing is to be able to know when to ask people to leave.
Fire.
Yeah. Another thing is to know.
It's hire and fire.
Yeah.
That's one point.
Yeah. Another thing is to know when, how to talk to people in a way that does not disrespect them,
Diplomacy.
but real genuine, authentic connection. and to be able to talk to them in a way that allows them to do better. Because the way parents expect their children, or the way schools expect children to come with pre-installed software, if I expect my staff to come with pre-installed software, how fair is it? How true is it? How possible is it? How real is it? All those things.
So you have to be an HR manager and a trainer, HR
Yeah,
trainer.
so many things. So the ability to communicate effectively, to train, to
Trainer.
coach, to mentor, to be able to train somebody and yet be okay with that person not being able to pick up the skill and not blame yourself for that
And pay for it.
and pay for it, right? So much of my own heart I have to be able to expand, and in the process of that I learned so many things about myself, my own iniquities, my own insecurities, my own inefficiencies, my own gaps start coming up, and then can I live with that, right? It's so nice for us not to know these things, but when you know these things, what do you do about it? Building my own spiritual growth.
Saint Willy Broad.
I'm just saying, like, these are difficult things. The difficult things are the softer things, right? It's not.
People call it wisdom.
It takes time to be able to talk to parents in the most efficient way, right? If I speak to you for an hour, and then you understand, if I can talk to you for 5 minutes and you still understand, that's really wonderful. That's a higher level of skill. Conflict resolution, getting people to work with each other with clarity and with commitment, getting people to really like the people they work with.
Yeah.
I might like working with you, and everyone I hire loves working with me, but they don't like working with each other. So how do you get people to work with each other?
Staff room politics.
Yeah. How do you navigate those things? How do you ensure that we have the big whys in our mind? How do we ensure that every single person really understands the vision, not just rattle it off because it's on a board, but how do they really live the vision? How do they enact it? For me to know what's enough, what's okay, when it's okay, when we need to take cognizance. And they say a genius of a man is knowing when and how much to ignore. So in Malayalam, my mother says sometimes, okay, kannadi kicha vekkanam. So when do you do that? And when do you don't? The ability to discern that. So if you really look at it, these are not very difficult things, but these are certainly not things that are taught in school or college. They may teach you to do your job, but I think what people need are transformational leaders who really motivate and push people to transform. I don't know. Those are.
You've just covered all of the dictionary, so I think being the jack of all trades.
I'm just saying there is a reason why you start working at the age of 23 and you work till 60.
Yeah.
Because it takes time. It takes time, right? And we should be okay with it. We should not wait till we figure all that out to spend time with our own kids and family.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that,
yes,
then you've lost the plot.
Yeah.
So family first is a very important aspect that I think more people in education realize and accept than in corporate.
Because the emotional bond with parents and students and teachers are more. It's not any employee relationship that you have. It's more of working in a family. When you are in a school, every child matters. That's your child sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
So you cannot give special preference for your children, because every student of your school is your child. So, and then you have that aerial view of things, and you are more responsible for their success, and then you coordinate things. You're able to push certain things, and then you feel that authority and accountability at the same time. I think that's where you miss that opportunity to spend time with your family.
Yeah.
People realize it
Later.
later.